Chapter 7, The Surf and the Sanctuary. For a long time, my birthday was just another day where I was the director, the caterer, and the cleanup crew of my own celebration. I had learned to expect so little I could never be disappointed. Self-sufficiency is something that people have admired and others have faulted me for. Either way, it was my reality and part of the wall I kept around my heart. But Orlando didn't just want to attend a birthday party for me. He wanted to be the reason I had one. Orlando had offered up ideas like renting out the dining room of my favorite restaurant and inviting my friends out for dinner curated by me or Sarah in the neighboring town. Then he wanted to bring my favorite DJ up to our town for a big open field party, making a canopy of incandescent light bulbs for us to dance under. He even floated the idea of chartering a helicopter to a super remote location. It was a dizzying list of grand, expensive gestures. If we are together, that is what I want, is my reply. Got it. Of course, babe. As you wish. We decided he would come to me and make me dinner. Just the two of us. And my boys would join us the next day for go-karts. I had done all the cooking since we met. I loved serving him breakfast in bed. Orlando was so taken aback when I first prepared and brought him a cup of tea. I'm not used to this kind of treatment, he said. I hope you get used to it, handsome. I want you to let me take care of you too. In his previous life, he was the breadwinner, the cook, the cleaner, the yard maintenance, keeper of the kids' schedule, grocery getter, and wood chopper. He had said it was like he was a single parent, like he had two kids to tend to. So him cooking for me was going to be a big deal. I had set out to take care of him so well that he could finally relax, and he loved it. He claimed he was a decent cook, so I was excited to see it. The week of my birthday started with adrenaline. We drove to the coast of the Pacific Northwest, air tasting of salt and impending rain. Surfing was the adventure of the day. Orlando was a creature of the elements. He moves through the water with the same calm authority he uses to navigate a construction site. I, on the other hand, am a disaster on a surfboard. I have no business being that far out into the ocean. During the pandemic, my twins and I had obtained all the gear required to surf. Outdoor activities were permitted, and our little bubble spent a lot of time on the water. I should be so much better at this than I am. My kids caught on almost immediately. My boys are natural athletes and excel at every sport they take an interest in. I'm so proud of the young men they have become, watching these little guys grow up from tiny diaper babies to such responsible, helpful, and thoughtful young men. This is the epitome of my life's experience. I get lost in thought as I'm paddling myself out through the crashing waves. Just find the plane, Delilah, he shouts over the roar of the surf, looking like an Adonis in a black wetsuit that hugged every rugged line of his body. I couldn't even stand up. I was a tangle of limbs and frustration, choking on the ocean water and laughing through the burn. Every time I wiped out, I looked up to see him checking for me, waiting for a thumbs up. Eventually, I gave up the fight and sat on the sand wrapped in a heavy towel, shamelessly ogling him, watching him peel out of that wetsuit, his strong, broad shoulders steaming in the cold air, was a gift in itself. He didn't just have a body, he had a presence that commanded the space around him. A few days later, on the actual eve of my birthday, complicated reality came thundering back into our lives. I can't make dinner tonight, his text read. One of Karen's family members is in town and I'm expected to be there. I'm so sorry. The morning felt particularly cold after that. I wasn't invited, of course, Karen knew it was my birthday. I was once again pushed to the margins while he sat at the table with people who didn't want to acknowledge my existence. In my past relationships, this would have been where I retreated, pulling my walls up to stay safe, leaving them before they could leave me. But Orlando didn't let the silence linger. Within an hour, my phone buzzed. No apology, no excuses, just a pin dropped on a map. I drove to the coordinates, my heart doing that familiar electric jolt. It was a secluded stretch of beach, shielded by a wall of ancient fir trees. There, sitting in the sand, was a small, sturdy tent. He was waiting for me. He had set up a sanctuary. Inside, there were snacks, a thermos of something warm, and a pile of pillows and blankets. It was becoming summer. It always seems to take longer for summer to reach us in this part of the world. And the sun was pale but persistent. In that cold little tent, you created an atmosphere that was warm, hot even. The tension and the frustration with Karen demanding that my birthday plans be dismantled melted into the steam of our breath. We lay there, tangled in blankets, the Pacific Ocean rhythmically pounding the shore outside the thin walls of the tent. My life is so different since that night at the party, Orlando whispered, his thumb tracing a line of my jaw. It's like the world has color again. I'm so happy you came into my life, Delilah. I didn't know I was allowed to feel like this. I leaned into his touch, savoring the heat of his hand. I'm not used to this, I admitted, my voice small. Being taken care of, being thought of. It's foreign territory for me. Sometimes I find myself just sitting here, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the silence to come back. He looked at me with an intensity that made the air feel thin. I'm not going anywhere. I'm building something here with you, a real foundation. I want to be your rock. You can trust me. As long as we are together, that is all that matters. Forever and always. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small velvet box. My heart hammered against my ribs. One day, the thought flashed through my mind like a lightning strike. Is this the day? But I looked at him. He was too calm, too steady. This wasn't a proposal. Not yet. He must have seen the flicker of the question in my eyes, that one day hope passing through my gaze. He didn't say a word. Instead, he pulled me into a big, fierce embrace, his strength wrapping around me so quickly and with such force that the small box tumbled out of my hands and onto the blankets. I need you in my life always, Delilah, he murmured against my hair. You're my princess. Holding me quietly for a moment, he drew his face back to look at mine. I'm a stupid man sometimes. I don't know how you put up with me. Promise, whatever happens, we will keep figuring it out. Please. There was a fear and desperation in his eyes and his voice. I sat there for a moment. Of course, handsome. I feel the same way. I have never felt like this before. Just don't give up on me, please. Orlando's voice became a whisper. I could hear the emotions rising in his throat. He pulled me close again, and I knew it was to hide his eyes, which I could feel were brimming with tears. He pulled back just enough to retrieve the box, opening it to reveal the shimmer of diamonds catching in the pale afternoon light. These are diamonds, he said, his voice dropping into that commanding, gravelly rasp. They are forever. I want to wrap you in jewelry so that you can remember I mean well. And those moments when a world gets complicated and you have to be patient with me, too patient sometimes. I want you to look at these and remember how I really feel about you. I felt the weight of the gift, Not just the physical stones in these cute little earrings, but the intention behind them. I couldn't help but think of the cost, but I reminded myself he needs to feel like a provider. Orlando was showing up for me in a divinely masculine way that allowed me to finally soften into my own divine feminine. I clearly let him lead, making space for him to be a big, strong man. We were both open and safe to explore different and softer sides of ourselves. We were a real life fairy tale, healing our childhood selves and the quiet gaps between the chaos. I found myself having more patience for him than I could ever have imagined possible. I believe him now when he says that he loves me. I regularly tell him, I know that one day you will let me love you too. At 4:30 p.m., a sharp ping came from his phone. We had learned from experience that we had to set alarms for ourselves and that both of us could get lost in time together. The alarm was the family dinner looming. He had to go. The transition was jarring from the sacred heat of the tent back to the cold reality of the changed plan. As I watched him pack the gear with some of that focused devotion, I realized I wasn't just waiting for the other shoe to drop anymore. I was wearing the diamonds of a man who intended to keep his promises. I could trust him.